Undercover owner orders chicken wings, freezes when staff brags about reusing leftovers. Ethan Cole adjusted the worn baseball cap, pulling it lower over his eyes as he stepped through the glass door of Wingspan number 17. The familiar scent of buffalo sauce and fried chicken enveloped him, but today, he wasn't here as the founder and CEO of the 43-location chicken wing franchise. Today, he was just another hungry customer in faded jeans and a plain gray hoodie. The lunch rush had subsided, leaving only a handful of customers scattered throughout the dining area. Perfect timing. Ethan had been making these undercover visits for 3 weeks now, touring his own restaurants incognito, determined to see his business through the eyes of a regular patron. So far, the other locations had impressed him: clean facilities, friendly service, food prepared to specification. But something about the metrics from this particular location had caught his attention: unusually high loyalty program redemptions coupled with mediocre food cost numbers. Ethan ran a hand over the 3-day stubble he'd grown specifically for this reconnaissance mission. His normal clean-cut appearance had disappeared beneath the scruff, along with the designer clothes he typically wore. Even his longtime executive assistant had done a double-take when he'd walked out of his office in this get-up. "Welcome to Wingspan, what can I get for you?" The cashier, Lexi, according to her name tag, barely looked up from her phone as Ethan approached the counter. Her blue uniform shirt was wrinkled, and she chewed gum with an open mouth while scrolling through what appeared to be social media. "I'll take a dozen original wings, half hot buffalo, half mango habanero," Ethan said, keeping his voice casual, slightly rougher than his normal speaking tone. "And a large soda. That'll be $17.99. You got a loyalty card?" Lexi asked, finally making eye contact. She had bright green eyes that might have been striking if not for the boredom clouding them. "No, not today. You should sign up. Free wings after 10 visits." Her tone suggested she couldn't care less if he did or didn't. "Maybe next time," Ethan replied, sliding a $20 bill across the counter. Lexi punched in his order, handed him his change and a plastic number stand. "We'll bring it out when it's ready. Drinks are over there." Ethan filled his cup with ice and Diet Coke, then selected a small table near the register. It offered a perfect vantage point, close enough to observe operations but inconspicuous enough that no one would pay him much attention. He pulled out his phone, pretending to browse while actually taking mental notes of the restaurant's condition. The floor needed sweeping. The condiment station was messy, with sauce packets scattered and napkin dispensers half empty. Behind the counter, he counted 3 employees: Lexi at the register, a college-aged young man working the fryer, and someone in the back whom he couldn't quite see. 15 minutes passed. The kitchen wasn't particularly busy, but his order still hadn't arrived. Ethan watched as Lexi, now unoccupied with customers, pulled out her phone again and dialed a number. "Hey girl, yeah, I'm at work," she said, voice carrying across the nearly empty restaurant. She leaned against the counter, turning slightly away from the dining area but not enough to prevent her voice from projecting. "Finished as usual after lunch." "Yeah, I'll be done at 4. Ethan sipped his soda, eyes fixed on his phone screen while his ears strained to catch her conversation. He'd always emphasized to his managers the importance of professionalism, even during slow periods. Personal calls on the floor were explicitly against company policy. "Oh my God, I almost forgot to tell you." Lexi's voice dropped to what she probably thought was a whisper, but in the quiet restaurant, it carried perfectly to where Ethan sat. "Remember those loyalty cards I told you about? The ones customers leave behind or throw away?" Ethan's hand froze halfway to his mouth, soda forgotten. "I've been scanning them like crazy this week," she continued, a laugh punctuating her words. "People are so stupid. They sign up for these cards, use them once, then forget all about them. So I just keep them in the drawer and scan them whenever." The hair on the back of Ethan's neck stood up. He forced himself to maintain his casual posture, though his mind raced with implications. No, listen, it's brilliant," Lexi insisted to whoever was on the other end of the call. "I scan the cards for random orders, right? So the points build up super fast. Then when there's enough for a free meal reward, I cash it in. I've been selling those free meals for half price to people I know. Cash only, obviously. Ethan felt his face growing hot with anger, but he maintained his cover, slowly scrolling through his phone while straining to hear every word. Management never checks the loyalty accounts. As long as sales look decent, nobody cares, Lexi boasted, twirling a strand of hair around her finger. I've made like $300 this week alone. Free wings taste better when you get paid for them, am I right? Just then, another employee, a teenage boy with a severe case of acne, approached with a tray bearing Ethan's order. Number 22? Ethan raised his hand, forcing a smile. That's me. As the boy set down the basket of wings, Ethan noticed they looked smaller than standard wingspan portions. The sauce coating was uneven, with some wings practically dry and others drowning. He thanked the server anyway, then turned his attention back to his food while maintaining awareness of Lexi's ongoing conversation. I've got a whole stash of these phantom cards now, she was saying, oblivious to the fact that her boss was sitting 20 feet away. I call them my moneymakers. Got them in a little envelope in the bottom drawer. A group of regulars walked in. Ethan could tell they were frequent customers by the way Lexi perked up and ended her call quickly. Gotta go, customers. Talk later. She slipped her phone into her pocket and transformed into a different person, smiling, chatty, the picture of customer service. Hey, Mr. Donovan. The usual today? And how's Mrs. Donovan doing with her new job? Lexi's voice dripped with honey as she greeted a balding man in a business suit. Doing great, Lexi. Yes, the usual please, he replied, pulling out a Wingspan loyalty card from his wallet. Ethan watched as Lexi scanned the man's card with a wide smile, then handed it back. You're getting close to that free meal. Just 3 more visits. Looking forward to it, Mr. Donovan said, moving to the side to wait for his order. The irony of the situation wasn't lost on Ethan. This loyal customer was diligently collecting points, unaware that someone else might be redeeming his rewards. The betrayal of trust made Ethan's stomach turn. When the next lull in customers arrived, Ethan pulled out his tablet and connected to the guest Wi-Fi. Using his emergency admin credentials, he logged into the company's digital records under a false name, a security measure he'd implemented years ago to allow for discreet system checks. He navigated to the loyalty program dashboard for this location and began examining the data. What he found made his half-eaten wings grow cold on his plate. The loyalty redemption patterns were wildly irregular. Some accounts showed points accumulating at impossible speeds, as if someone had visited 5 times in a single day. Others showed rewards being claimed at odd hours, even after the restaurant had closed. Ethan took a deep breath, closed the tablet, and carefully wrapped the remaining wings to go. He needed to approach this methodically. If Lexi was running this scheme, how far did it extend? Was she acting alone, or were others involved? How long had this been happening, and how much money had been stolen? As he stood to leave, Lexi barely glanced his way. Have a nice day, she called automatically, already turning her attention back to her phone. I certainly will, Ethan murmured more to himself than to her. And I'll be back sooner than you think. Outside in the parking lot, he slid into his nondescript sedan, a far cry from his usual BMW, and began making notes on his phone. The pleasant spring afternoon continued around him, customers coming and going from his restaurant, completely unaware of the fraud happening inside. Ethan Cole had built Wingspan from a single store to a regional powerhouse based on quality food and customer loyalty. Now that very loyalty was being exploited. His jaw set with determination as he started the car. This was just the beginning. He would get to the bottom of this, no matter what it took. Ethan returned the next day wearing different casual clothes, this time a plaid button-up with the sleeves rolled to his elbows, worn jeans, and thick-framed glasses that transformed his appearance. He'd spent the night reviewing loyalty data for all his franchises, discovering that this location's numbers were statistical outliers. The morning crowd bustled around him as he nursed a coffee in the corner booth, watching Lexi work the register with mechanical efficiency. Her customer service persona was a masterpiece of deception, all smiles and cheery banter while handling transactions, then immediately dropping the act when customers stepped away. "Loyalty card?" she asked a young woman in scrubs. "I have the app on my phone," the nurse replied, showing her screen. Lexi's eyes narrowed slightly. "Oh, the app? Got it." She scanned it quickly, her smile tightening. When the customer moved to the waiting area, Lexi muttered something to her coworker, a lanky man with a patchy beard who snickered in response. Ethan made a note in his phone. The app-based loyalty program was newer and more secure than the physical cards, making it harder to manipulate. Lexi's reaction told him everything. During a lull, Ethan casually approached the counter, ordering a side of fries just to observe Lexi up close. "For here or to go?" she asked, not recognizing him from yesterday. "For here," Ethan replied, intentionally fumbling with his wallet. He dropped several coins, buying time as he bent to collect them. From this angle, he could see under the counter where Lexi stood. There, in the partially open bottom drawer, was a small white envelope peeking out beneath some papers. The phantom cards she'd mentioned. "Sorry about that," he said, straightening up and handing her exact change. Lexi's fake smile never wavered. "No problem. We'll call your number." Back at his table, Ethan opened his tablet and connected to the restaurant's camera system using his admin credentials. The security cameras provided multiple angles of the restaurant, including one behind the register. He zoomed in just as a man in a delivery uniform entered. Unlike regular customers, this man exchanged no money with Lexi. Instead, she swiped a loyalty card from her envelope, hit several buttons on the register, and handed him a receipt. The delivery man nodded and moved to the pickup area, collecting a large order moments later. "Free wings taste better when you get paid for them." Her words from yesterday echoed in Ethan's mind. The scheme was blatant, occurring in broad daylight with confident precision. When his fries arrived, delivered by the same acne-faced teen from yesterday, Ethan decided to probe gently. "You guys seem pretty busy. Been working here long?" he asked. "About 6 months," the boy replied, shifting uncomfortably. "How's the employee discount? Pretty good?" The teen's eyes darted toward Lexi at the register. "It's okay. Lexi hooks us up sometimes, though." "Hooks you up?" "You know, with the loyalty program and stuff," he mumbled, then quickly added, "I should get back to work." As the afternoon progressed, Ethan observed more irregularities. A group of college students entered, approached Lexi directly, and received discounted meals without proper payment. The assistant manager, a tired-looking woman in her 40s, seemed oblivious, focused on inventory paperwork in the back office. Or perhaps not oblivious at all. When monthly reports showed increased customer loyalty, wouldn't that reflect well on management? Ethan's suspicions deepened when he examined the digital records again. This location reported 44% higher loyalty program engagement than company average. Corporate would see these numbers as a success story, never questioning whether the redemptions were legitimate. As he prepared to leave, Ethan overheard Lexi speaking to the bearded coworker. "Marcus wants 6 orders tonight. Tell Kyle to pack extras." "Same price?" "Yeah, half menu. Cash only. I'll transfer his loyal customer points myself." The coworker grinned. "Man, I love our loyal customers." They shared a knowing laugh, completely unaware that the architect of the very system they were corrupting sat 20 feet away, documenting their every word. Ethan slipped out, resolving to extend his investigation. This wasn't just Lexi's isolated scheme, it was a coordinated operation with multiple participants. The betrayal cut deeper than he'd anticipated, but he needed concrete evidence before taking action. Tomorrow, he'd return as someone new again, digging deeper into how far this corruption had spread through his once proud franchise. "I'm Mark Peterson, from Corporate Analytics." Ethan extended his hand to Brenda Wilson, the assistant manager he'd observed yesterday. Today's disguise was his most elaborate yet: dress shirt, tie, fake corporate ID badge, and hair slicked back with product. He'd even added horn-rimmed glasses and a briefcase full of official-looking documents. "Oh, we weren't expecting anyone from corporate," Brenda said, her eyes widening with surprise. She smoothed her uniform nervously. "Just a routine check. We're evaluating the loyalty program's effectiveness across all locations," Ethan explained, his voice professionally detached. "Your store's metrics are quite impressive. I'd like to understand your strategies better." Pride replaced Brenda's anxiety. "Well, we focus heavily on customer engagement. Our team really encourages sign-ups." "I see. Mind if I observe for a bit? Perhaps talk to your staff?" "Of course. Let me show you around." The tour revealed more than Brenda intended. In the back office, Ethan spotted a burner phone charging in the wall, identical to one he'd seen Lexi texting on yesterday. A notebook nearby contained what appeared to be delivery addresses with dollar amounts penciled beside them. "What's this phone for?" he asked casually. "Oh, that's..." Brenda hesitated. "Sometimes customers call directly for large orders. It's easier to manage that way." A convenient lie. Ethan nodded as if accepting the explanation while mentally adding another piece to the puzzle. Throughout the morning, he interviewed staff members, starting with Kyle, the acne-faced teen. The boy fidgeted through Ethan's questions about loyalty program procedures, contradicting himself repeatedly. When asked about off-book sales, Kyle's face flushed red. I'm not sure what you're asking about, sir." "Just standard practices," Ethan reassured him. "For example, how do you handle loyalty redemptions?" "Lexi manages those mostly," Kyle muttered, visibly relieved to deflect responsibility. Ethan interviewed 3 more employees, each revealing fragments of the scheme through their nervousness and inconsistent answers. By lunchtime, he had confirmed his suspicions. At least 6 staff members were involved, using discarded loyalty cards to generate free meals, then selling those meals to a network of regular customers at half price. The money never entered the system. Cash changed hands off book, and the digital loyalty program showed only legitimate-seeming redemptions. Most disturbing was his conversation with Brenda in the office afterward. "Your loyalty program engagement is 44% above company average," Ethan noted, watching her reaction. "That's remarkable performance." Brenda beamed with pride. "Yes, our team really pushes the program. And you've personally verified these metrics?" A subtle shift occurred in her expression, nearly imperceptible tension around her eyes. "Of course. I run monthly reports." "Interesting. Because I've noticed some unusual patterns." Ethan opened a spreadsheet on his tablet. "For instance, loyalty redemptions occurring after closing hours. Or accounts accumulating points at impossible rates." The color drained from Brenda's face. "There must be a system glitch. Perhaps. Or perhaps someone is manipulating the program." Brenda's recovery was swift. "I'm sure there's a reasonable explanation. Our technical systems sometimes have timing issues." "And what about inventory discrepancies?" Ethan interrupted. "Food costs don't align with reported sales." Brenda glanced at the door. "That's being addressed in our next inventory cycle." She knew. The realization hit Ethan like a physical blow. Not only did Brenda know about the scheme, but she was actively protecting it. Why? The answer came during his final interview with the cook, a college student named Derek, who let something slip. "Yeah, everyone loves working here because of the bonuses," Derek said, chopping vegetables. "Bonuses?" Ethan prompted. "You know, for performance metrics. When loyalty numbers are high, Brenda gets a quarterly bonus from corporate. She splits some with the staff." The final piece clicked into place. Brenda wasn't just turning a blind eye, she was incentivizing the fraud. Her quarterly management bonuses depended on metrics that her team was systematically falsifying, creating a corrupt ecosystem that rewarded theft while appearing successful on paper. As Ethan prepared to leave after his evaluation, a new employee approached him in the parking lot, a young woman with troubled eyes who introduced herself as Jade. "Sir? Are you really from corporate?" she asked, voice barely above a whisper. Yes, Ethan lied, maintaining his cover. Why? Because. She glanced nervously toward the restaurant. I think something bad is happening here. With the loyalty cards. And I don't want to be part of it. Ethan felt a flicker of hope. Tell me everything you know. I've only been here 3 weeks, Jade explained, huddled with Ethan in his car 2 blocks from the restaurant. But I know what they're doing is wrong. Rain pattered against the windshield, providing privacy as Jade revealed the extent of the fraud. Her voice trembled, but her resolve remained firm. Lexi's the ringleader. She taught me how to work the system on my second day, said everyone does it. But I refused. Jade twisted a napkin in her hands. That's when they started isolating me. What exactly did she show you? Ethan prompted. She keeps abandoned loyalty cards in that envelope. But that's just the beginning. Jade leaned closer. She also calls customer service pretending to be upset customers. Claims their food was wrong or cold or whatever. And then what happens? Corporate issues compensation cards. You know, those one-time freebies for dissatisfied customers? Lexi intercepts the mail. Jade's eyes flashed with indignation. She's created dozens of fake complaints. Those compensation cards fuel more fraudulent redemptions. Ethan's stomach nodded. His own customer service policies, designed to build goodwill, were being weaponized against the business. Why are you telling me this? He asked, testing her motives. Jade straightened her shoulders. Because it's stealing. And because real customers are getting their points stolen. Mr. Donovan comes in 3 times weekly for years. He should have earned dozens of free meals by now, but Lexi's been transferring his points to her dummy accounts. Exactly what he'd suspected, but hearing it confirmed by an insider made Ethan's blood boil. I need evidence, he said. Concrete proof that would stand up to scrutiny. Jade nodded. I can help. When's your next visit? Tomorrow night. They're doing a big off-books delivery to some college party. Perfect. Ethan outlined his plan, a sting operation using hidden cameras and recorded transactions. The following evening, Ethan arrived wearing a delivery driver's uniform from a competing restaurant, a disguise no one at Wingspan would recognize. He positioned micro cameras in his jacket buttons and hat, then entered through the back door where Jade had disabled the alarm. Ready? He whispered as they met briefly in the darkened hallway. Yes, Jade replied. Lexi's working register. Brenda's in her office counting today's off-book cash. Ethan approached the counter, keeping his head tilted to hide his face. Pick up for Marcus, he said gruffly. Lexi barely glanced up. The usual 6 family meals? That'll be $60. Half the menu price, exactly as predicted. Ethan handed over the cash, watching as Lexi pocketed it without ringing up a sale. Instead, she pulled out her envelope of cards. Redeeming 6 rewards, she announced to no one in particular, swiping cards repeatedly through the system. The register displayed. Loyalty reward redeemed. With each swipe. Your order will be ready in 10, Lexi said, already turning away. While waiting, Ethan subtly filmed the kitchen staff packing extra wings into each container, skimming inventory that would never be tracked in the system. His evidence gathering was interrupted when Brenda emerged from the office, immediately noticing him. Who are you? She demanded, eyes narrowing at his competitor's uniform. Before Ethan could respond, Jade intercepted. He's Marcus's new delivery guy, she explained. The regular one quit. Brenda hesitated, then nodded curtly before returning to her office. When the food arrived, Ethan paid the final $20, handling fee, another off-book transaction, directly to Kyle, who slipped the bill into his pocket without comment. Pleasure doing business, Ethan said, making sure the camera captured the entire exchange. Outside, he loaded the food into his car and drove to a safe distance before reviewing the footage. Everything was crystal clear. The unauthorized transactions, the cash changing hands, the manipulation of the loyalty system, and most damning of all, Lexi's casual explanation to another customer. These cards? Just a way to track our regulars. The computer system's weird sometimes. That night, Ethan compiled all his evidence: 3 days of surveillance, digital records showing impossible redemption patterns, testimonials from Jade, and tonight's video proof of active fraud. The monetary value of the theft was staggering, nearly $27,000 over 6 months in stolen food and manipulated rewards. "What happens now?" Jade asked when he called to thank her. "Justice," Ethan replied. "Be at tomorrow's morning staff meeting. And prepare for some fireworks." As he hung up, Ethan removed his disguise for the final time. Tomorrow, he wouldn't be a mystery shopper or corporate analyst or delivery driver. Tomorrow, he would be Ethan Cole, founder and CEO of Wingspan, face to face with the employees who had betrayed his trust and stolen from his business. "Morning team meeting in 5 minutes," Brenda announced, gathering the breakfast shift staff in the dining area before opening. "Corporate sent over someone to discuss the loyalty program." The staff arranged themselves around pushed-together tables. Lexi, yawning, scrolled through her phone. Kyle nervously fidgeted with a napkin. The other employees chatted casually, oblivious to what was coming. Jade slipped in last, taking a seat near the door. Her eyes kept darting to the entrance. "So who's this corporate guy?" Lexi asked, not looking up from her phone. The front door opened, and a man in an impeccable charcoal suit entered. Clean-shaven, hair perfectly styled, he carried himself with quiet authority. No one recognized him at first. His previous disguises had been too effective. "Good morning, everyone," he said, voice clear and commanding. Brenda rushed forward, hand extended. "You must be from corporate." "I'm Brenda Wilson, assistant manager." "I know exactly who you are, Ms. Wilson." He didn't take her hand. Instead, he placed his briefcase on the table and surveyed the room, making eye contact with each employee. "I'm Ethan Cole. I founded and own Wingspan." The silence was immediate and absolute. Color drained from Lexi's face as she lowered her phone. Kyle's napkin fell forgotten to the floor. "Mr. Cole?" Brenda stammered. "We had no idea you were visiting today. We would have prepared." "I've been visiting for several days now," Ethan interrupted, his calm tone belying the anger beneath. "Sometimes as a regular customer. Sometimes as a corporate analyst named Mark Peterson. Last night, as a delivery driver picking up an order for Marcus." Lexi's eyes widened in recognition, then narrowed dangerously. She shot a venomous glance at Jade, who stared resolutely ahead. "I'm not sure what you mean." Brenda laughed nervously. "We're always happy to have you visit, of course. Let me be clear." Ethan opened his briefcase and removed a tablet. "I've uncovered a systematic fraud operation at this location involving loyalty program manipulation, inventory theft, and off-book sales." He tapped the screen, and security footage began playing on the restaurant's wall-mounted TV. There was Lexi, clearly scanning abandoned loyalty cards. There was Kyle, pocketing cash. There was Brenda, counting money in her office that never appeared in the register records. That's not what it looks like," Lexi blurted, standing abruptly. "Those are just promotional offers we run sometimes." "Save it," Ethan said, his voice sharp as he paused the video. "I have digital records showing impossible redemption patterns. I have recorded conversations. I have testimonials from honest employees." His gaze flicked to Jade, who sat straighter in her chair. Several staff members followed his glance, expressions darkening as they realized who had exposed them. "You're nothing but a snitch," Lexi hissed at Jade. "She's the only person in this room with integrity," Ethan corrected. "The only one who understood that loyalty isn't just a marketing program, it's a promise between our business and our customers." Brenda attempted damage control. "Mr. Cole, I'm sure this is just a misunderstanding. Perhaps our procedures differ slightly from corporate guidelines, but you've stolen approximately $27,000 from my company," Ethan cut in. "You've manipulated metrics to earn fraudulent performance bonuses. You've cheated loyal customers like Mr. Donovan out of rewards they earned." He placed a stack of documents on the table. "These are termination papers. Brenda Wilson, Alexandria Carter, Kyle Jennings, Derek Prescott, Miguel Sanchez, and Thomas Reeves, your employment with Wingspan ends today. Security is waiting outside to escort you from the premises. The room erupted. Lexi launched into a profanity-laced tirade. Kyle burst into tears. Brenda attempted to argue that she was merely following industry standard practices. Furthermore, Ethan continued over the chaos. We'll be pursuing criminal charges. Fraud and theft are crimes, not industry practices. As if on cue, 2 police officers entered the restaurant along with Ethan's head of corporate security. This is ridiculous, Lexi shouted, grabbing her purse. You can't prove anything. Actually, Ethan replied, gesturing to the screen where her face was frozen mid-transaction. I can prove everything. The next hour passed in a blur of paperwork, police statements, and shocked corporate representatives who arrived to implement emergency protocols. Regional management was equally stunned. They believed location number 17's impressive metrics were legitimate. By noon, the dust had settled. The fraudulent employees had been escorted out. Corporate security had changed all locks and system passwords. A crisis management team was contacting affected customers. Ethan found Jade sitting alone in the empty dining room, still processing the morning's events. Are you okay? He asked, taking a seat across from her. She nodded slowly. It was the right thing to do. But it wasn't easy. Integrity rarely is, Ethan replied. Which is why it's so valuable. What happens to the restaurant now? Ethan looked around at the temporarily closed location. We rebuild. Starting with the right people. He slid a document across the table. How would you feel about becoming team leader? 2 months later, Ethan stood before a gathered crowd of customers, employees, and local press. The grand reopening of Wingspan number 17 had drawn more attention than anticipated, partly due to the dramatic story that had leaked to local media about the owner's undercover bust of a loyalty program scam. Today marks a new chapter, Ethan announced, scissors poised at the ceremonial ribbon. Not just for this location, but for Wingspan as a company. Beside him stood Jade Martinez, now the location's team leader, dressed in a crisp new manager's uniform. Her transformation from nervous whistleblower to confident leader had been remarkable. When they closed temporarily for renovations and staff restructuring, she'd worked alongside Ethan daily, helping implement new systems and training new staff. Before we cut this ribbon, Ethan continued, I want to acknowledge that trust is earned. We broke that trust, even if unintentionally, by not having proper oversight. Today, we're making it right. The changes had been comprehensive. A new tamper-proof digital loyalty system had been implemented across all locations, complete with biometric verification through the app and personalized QR codes that couldn't be duplicated. Physical cards now required photo ID for redemption. Most importantly, Ethan had personally contacted every customer whose loyalty points had been misused, offering not just restitution but triple the points they'd lost. Mr. Donovan, Ethan called, gesturing to the front row where the familiar balding businessman stood. Would you do us the honor of being our first official customer today? With cameras flashing, Mr. Donovan stepped forward, beaming. Wouldn't miss it for the world. The ribbon fell away with a snip, and applause rippled through the crowd. Inside, the renovated space gleamed, new equipment, fresh paint, and redesigned workstations that prioritized transparency. A large monitor behind the counter displayed real-time loyalty redemptions, visible to all customers. As people filtered in, Jade expertly directed her new team, all carefully vetted employees who understood that ethical behavior wasn't optional. Quite a transformation, noted a local business reporter who'd been covering the story. Some might have just shut down after a scandal like that. The easy path isn't always the right one, Ethan replied. Sometimes you need to face problems head-on to truly solve them. The lesson had reverberated throughout the company. Following the incident, Ethan had initiated undercover visits to every Wingspan location. While no other store had exhibited the systematic fraud of number 17, the surprise inspections had revealed other issues needing attention, inconsistent food preparation, occasional sanitation lapses, and varying levels of customer service. "The most valuable insight from this whole experience," Ethan told the reporter, "is that what you don't see can hurt you. We've now built verification into every level of our business." Corporate policies had changed too. Performance bonuses now required multiple metrics, not just loyalty program engagement, but also customer satisfaction surveys, food quality assessments, and random audits. By early afternoon, the restaurant was humming with activity. Every table filled, every server moving with purpose. Jade caught Ethan's eye across the room and gave a subtle nod. They were handling the rush flawlessly. Near the register, a wall of photos showed the new staff, along with a framed mission statement emphasizing integrity. Below it hung a single loyalty card in a shadow box, a reminder of the lesson learned. "You know what's ironic?" Jade said when she finally took a break, joining Ethan at his table. "We're actually seeing higher legitimate loyalty program usage now than during the fake numbers." "Not surprising," Ethan replied. "Real loyalty comes from trust, not manipulation." 6 months after the reopening, location number 17 officially became Wingspan's top-performing restaurant, with the highest customer satisfaction ratings and the most profitable operations. The store that had once embodied corruption had transformed into the company's gold standard. Ethan continued his undercover visits, though less frequently and with less dramatic results. The legacy of his chicken wing investigation had created a culture of accountability throughout the organization. On the 1-year anniversary of the bust, Ethan sat alone at a corner table in location number 17, wearing no disguise, simply observing the smoothly running operation. Jade, recently promoted to district manager, spotted him and came over with a basket of wings. "On the house," she said, sliding it across the table. "For old time's sake." "They look perfect," Ethan noted, examining the generous portions and even sauce distribution. "They should be. I made them myself." Jade smiled. "Some things you just need to handle personally." Ethan nodded appreciatively. "The best kind of loyalty." As Jade returned to work, Ethan watched customers happily scanning their legitimate loyalty apps, staff members working with pride, and Mr. Donovan, now enjoying his rightfully earned free meal, giving a thumbs up from across the room. The chicken wing bust had taught him something valuable. Sometimes you need to experience your business as a customer to truly understand its flaws. And sometimes, redemption starts with one person brave enough to stand up for what's right. Ethan bit into a perfectly cooked wing and smiled. These tasted better than any he'd had before, not because they were free, but because they were earned through integrity.